Today I'm talking to James Godfrey. If you are a teenage daughter or you have a teenage daughter, you will recognize him from Disney's The Swap or the Zombies trilogy of films in which he plays a character named Bonzo. You may also recognize him from my wedding. If you were one of the 148 people at my wedding 10 years ago, you will recognize him as one of my groomsmen. This is perhaps the most important role he's ever played. And we're going to talk to him today because he's my friend. This Was Nice. You and I have a lot in common.
Yes.
We are fathers.
Yes.
We are husbands. We are comedians.
Yes.
We are not super successful.
Yes.
We are well over 6 feet tall.
Both.
We are very tanned.
Yes.
We are extremely fit.
We both own a home.
We both own my home.
Yes.
And I think something that brings us together is the fact that we are Canadian comedians.
Yes.
And to be a comedian in Canada basically means to be humble.
Okay.
It means to acknowledge that
We're not trying to say we're too humble.
No.
Don't get it wrong. There are people more humble than us.
There are people far more humble than us. But being a comedian in Canada is basically saying, hey, maybe you don't know who I am. Maybe you haven't seen my work. Maybe I'm not currently working.
Yes.
But I'm still a comedian.
I find that being an actor in Canada, you're mostly not working. Is that just me?
I think that's just acting in general.
Oh, yeah.
Acting in general means to be standing around waiting for someone to call you.
That's an Eric Idle quote. He says, acting is 99% waiting, 1% flattery.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the flattery part.
Yes. This is the beautiful historic St. Lawrence Market where you can buy many goods and bacon sandwiches.
I think it's safe to say that most people have never done any acting in their life. Can you walk me through the audition process for Zombies?
For Zombies specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, so Zombies, I was unemployed and I was picking weeds and I felt, I guess I was employed. I was self-employed picking weeds at an old man's house and I felt like I could stop doing that. I got a sense. And then I got a call to come in. They were looking for the best dancer to play this character of Bonzo. They'd been looking. They'd actually started
Are you a
pre-production.
dancer?
No. But they had already started pre-production and something happened and they didn't have this character figured out. And so I knew the casting director and she brought me in and we shot a tape for it. And then literally like 2 days later, I was brought in for an audition with the producer and the director. And I thought I got it because I was making them laugh. And I was like, oh, I've got this job. And then they brought me back on the Saturday. So it's like 4 days after I even heard about the role. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to meet some people and get the job. But no, they had arranged a dance-off for the character.
So you had to dance competitively against the other actors?
No, against two other dancers. They were looking
That
for
were going for the same role?
Same role.
Oh, so you...
So there's three of us, and these young kids were really good dancers. And they had a whole, so they tried to teach us choreography, really nice other like choreographers tried to teach us a dance. And I recognized about 3 moves in, I was not gonna learn this dance.
Okay.
And so I decided to stop trying. And instead what I decided to do was beat them in a different way. And so
these other people are like actual dancers.
really good dancers.
But maybe they didn't have the comedy chops that they were looking for.
That was my only hope. That was my only hope. So what I ended up doing was I took like the first 2 or 3 dance moves that I could do and I memorized those. And then I asked to go first. And I was like, all I have to do is just be so funny they can't be better than me with dancing. This is a hard challenge. Anyway, so because I have done professional clown training, Chris Bartelzi, I knew how to do a pratfall pretty good. And so I did the first 3 dance moves, and then I did a big giant fall they all thought was real.
Right.
And then I just stood up and just made up the rest of the dance and made a character out of Bonzo. And that's where he was really created, on the spot.
All right, we're almost there. We just got to do a little bit of Toronto jaywalking. Let's go, Jimmers.
Nice.
Had to do a little Indiana Jones hack grab at the end there, but we made it. We should find some place to sit.
That'd be nice. There's a good bench over here.
I can't see anything. I need to put my sunglasses on.
So this is famously, that's the front of the school. What school is that? George Brown? So that's the front of Zombies High School. If you guys are super fans of the Zombies franchise, specifically the first 3, I can't speak to the next 2. That's the front of it. I got hired to be a dancer.
Yeah.
And I did not dance, and I got the job. And so you think, hey, great, I don't have to dance for this job.
Right.
I was wrong. What took I went through a month of choreography with all these professional dancers, and I learned nothing. No,
Yeah.
I did learn the dances, but I was not good at them. And they were kind to me. And so we show up on set, and I've learned this dance, and I'm like, okay, I'm just scraping by. I'm hoping I can hide behind some of the good guys, but I'm so much taller that I stick out like a sore thumb. And then the props department comes up to me. This is like 10 seconds before we're gonna shoot, and says, oh, we forgot your instrument.
Yeah.
Which is not just a tuba, but a tuba with like a French horn strap to it.
Like they welded together.
They
several
welded together
instruments?
several instruments, and they said, you gotta dance this dance with this tuba. I was like, what?
So you already can't dance, and then you have to hold like a 65-pound piece of brass
And dance.
and dance.
And I was like, how the heck am I?
And it went really well, and there was no issues.
It's totally fine. And so we did. I was like, I'll try, and it was impossible. And so they came up with a fantastic movie magic solution, which is they ripped fabric strips and they tied it to my leg, which you do.
Yeah, that's
how
what
works.
marching bands do.
And then, so if you want, like having a strap around me, it's like tied to my leg, and we do this dance, and you'd think like, okay, you just do it once or twice. No, we did it like 100 times. Just
Yeah.
running down the strip, doing this dance, whole thing. And so by the end of it, I was like, this really hurts. And when you look at my leg, at the end of the day, I sent a picture to the producers. My whole leg was just black from like top to bottom. And they were very nice to me from then on.
Yeah.
I think because I could have sued them. It's probably why I was in the next 2 movies. Just that, because I don't think they would have brought me back.
With a foam instrument.
This is hot.
You're a good. I know it's about 35 degrees Celsius. By the way, we're gonna move down here where it's shadier.
Let's call it the show Finding Shade.
Just moving around to different benches with James and Mark.
As much as this is an interview show,
Yeah.
that you're interviewing me, the celebrity,
Yeah.
the truth is that Mark,
You forgot the air quotes.
I didn't forget I implied them. But Mark is also trying. No. So Mark, we're here at the Chorus Building.
Oh yeah.
You've been here before.
Yes, James, I have, and this is a really natural
This is I was asking
flow
the
of
segment.
conversation.
What was the? Tell me about your first ever voice acting role.
Basically, I always wanted to be a voice actor, and I originally thought I might go into animation school because I just loved animation. I loved voice acting. I was always watching the behind the scenes, segments on Pixar DVDs, and so that's what I always wanted to do, and never really thought it would happen. But then I didn't get into animation school, so I was like, oh, it's definitely not going to happen now. But then I went to comedy school, like we talked about, and coming out of that, I started auditioning for things, and still had not auditioned for any animation, but had auditioned for lots of commercials, landed none of them, and was like, okay, well, this isn't going great. And my mom said, hey, maybe you should get a job. So I got a job just for 2 months at a toy store, just for like the Christmas season. And while I was there, I got my first animation audition. And all that preamble is to say, I was so excited and I was so ready for it. because I had watched the stuff. I've been watching like Comic-Con panels on YouTube, and this is like when we're teenagers. So this is like 2006 YouTube, when it's like 1 year old and the videos are not good. But I was like trying to find anything I could about voice acting. So I started to realize I didn't want to be an animator. I wanted to be a voice actor. I just knew that if I was making animation, I would get to do the voices as well.
It's like me, I wanted to be a doctor, and then I realized I wasn't smart enough. And that's when I truly discovered my passion for acting.
Yeah, I wanted to do the much easier, more manageable side of it.
The thing that they allowed me to do became my passion.
The thing that I permitted. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but then I was cleaning a stain on the floor, and they said, have you thought about the janitorial arts? But I got this audition for a series called Rocket Monkeys. There was only a couple of drawings. They didn't look particularly good. So I thought this is probably like a web series, or it's like it's not like going to be a significant thing. But I was super prepared for it. And I sent the audition, went into work the next day, was telling some of my coworkers over lunch that I auditioned for an animated series, and they were like, oh, that's cool. What is it? What is this going to be on like Cartoon Network? I was like, no. Like Disney? Like, no. It'll probably be on nothing. It'll probably air on the screens on like the gas pumps. Then I got a call back for it, and I basically found out that, first of all, the casting director was the mother of a kid that I went to school with. I hadn't met her before, but she recognized my name. And so we were talking about that, and that was like a nice introductory conversation. And I did the audition, and they made me do all this weird stuff. Like I read for more than one character, even though they were only casting one character. So they wanted to see how many different voices I could do. And then the producer, Mark Eve's staff, made me sing a song using only monkey noises. But I didn't know why he was asking me to do this. I came to understand it later, but even in that, I was like, I'm going to do better than everybody else. So I sang We Are the World, doing different monkeys for each line. And I did like a lot of it. Like it was like 3 minutes long, and they just sat there patiently. But I figured it was a test. So I got the part, and I came to find out that the part that I got, Wally, had already been cast. They recorded 5 or 6 episodes with a guy who basically wouldn't read the scripts and was not really doing what they needed. And then he mysteriously moved away to another province. So they were kind of desperate. So I did a couple episodes by myself, and then showed up one day and found out that the other Rocket Monkey is being played by, I'm not kidding, like one of my favorite comedians in the world, Sean Cullen, who you know, of course. And
everybody should know Sean.
Everybody should know Sean Cullen, but now I'm recording with him. And the reason they had me do all these different voices is because I didn't know this, but like you didn't just get to play the character you're playing. Every episode, they're like, hey, can you play that alien number 2? Hey, can you play alien mom with the stroller? Hey, can you play this asteroid that talks for a couple lines? And so you're just doing stuff constantly. And there was singing, like I had talked about before. And you're singing in character, and you're singing as different characters. And this was all my first job. So it's my first audition. I landed it. And to this day, it's probably still my favorite job I've ever had.
How many seasons did you do?
I guess technically it was 3 seasons. We did 130 11-minute shows.
Wow.
And I wrote about 20 of them. They hired me as a writer partway through. Yeah, so that was Teletoon. Yeah, it aired on Teletoon. And it ended up airing on Nickelodeon in the States.
For anybody who's watched Wally, just do Wally for 2 seconds.
Oh, here's the thing. This voice has actually genuinely permanently damaged my vocal cords.
Okay.
Because we would be recording for 3 hours at a time. And sometimes, if they're like the Christmas break and stuff like that, we had to do 2 episodes. It'd be 6 hours. And the voice was such a strain in my throat that my vocal range is different now than it was, how many years ago now? 14 years ago. Like, I can't sing falsetto anymore. Like, my voice doesn't do that. My testicles have also
then and now.
lowered, but
Yeah, no, the voice was extremely harsh in my throat. It was really high. It was probably even higher back then.
it was a crazy voice to commit to.
That's a lot.
For 130 episodes.
It's also interesting you said that you gave them like 3 minutes of that song. One thing a director told me early on, which might just be more of like a comedy thing, but he's like, I'd always give them more to work with. And he thanked me. He's like, thank you.
Right.
Because you got to think from the perspective of like, they're trying to, they're making something. And if they can cut to you at any point and use that, because it's interesting,
Yeah.
So you're kind of giving them more. So even like there, like your commitment to 3 minutes, they're not going to use all 3 minutes of it, but within there, they're like, all right, this guy he can give us lots.
Well, and that's what ended up happening. That's what's so different about Rocket Monkeys from a lot of the other shows I've worked on, most of them, is our scripts were 16 and a half pages. But when we submitted them, they were only 12 and a half pages. And that last 2 pages was the producer, Mark Evestaff, 4 pages, going through and adding all the ad-lib sections. He would actually write into the script, this is where we're going to ad-lib. And I made a list of them one time, and for a Christmas present, I gave him like a big poster that was all the ad-libs he made us do. Ad-lib cheese appreciation, ad-lib fart encouragement, all these different things. And so the finished episode was 11 and a half minutes, but the initial cut with just all the pauses cut out would be like 20 minutes long. And he would keep as much funny stuff as he could. He would send it to the animation director, and then the animation director, Jay, would go through and give back line suggestions, because he'd be like, oh, I want to keep that. I want to add this. I've got an idea for a really gross gag here. And then we'd get back all the adjustments and pickups we had to do. And then finally it would end up at 11 and a half minutes. But a lot of the other shows I worked on, like the script was 18 pages with no ad lib, and the final thing was 11 and a half minutes. So the whole process was just, Sir?
It's comedy.
Sir, have you found that your instincts have developed, matured, changed over time as a performer?
Yeah. I think I started stand-up, like 2 years ago now? It's interesting you're saying this process of like, you put out all this amount, but you end up whittling it down, just like the funniest stuff, and just killing every sacred thing you love.
Yeah.
To just keep what is the actual funny part of it.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see, like, writing is rewriting.
Yeah.
It's the editing, it's finding what really works and letting stuff go. So that idea that I think I've gotten way better as a performer. If you watch old stand-up with me, 90% of it was just me telling stories that were not funny.
Yeah.
To get to like this one little punch that was funny. And so some people like that, but I've realized now the audience just wants to laugh.
I feel like you and I have both had to learn how to lie in stand-up. Like we've had to learn that, okay, yeah, this story happened and it was funny, but that doesn't mean it works on stage.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to borrow concepts from other jokes. And like, for example, you have a bit about your wife's birthday, but you also had a bit about staying at an Airbnb. And so you kind of combined them. You said like, oh, we went to an Airbnb to stay for the weekend.
Nobody's ever been to an Airbnb when they talk about it on stage. It's just,
I know. It's like, oh, I was staying in a hotel last night. But you realize that like the bit, those are kind of like two smaller jokes that now work together better, because you can start with the whole experience of checking into this Airbnb and all the ridiculous rules they have. And then that leads into, and I invited all her friends up to this cottage for her birthday party. And so now you're taking, yeah, it didn't happen that way, but there's still truth in both. Yeah. You have frustration with Airbnb. You had a certain experience planning this birthday party for your wife. And I feel like I also had to learn, like as a writer, that because there's still truth in both parts, it's not untrue. It doesn't create untruth by putting them together.
Sometimes,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's like, I think that with comedy, the point is the laugh.
Yes.
That's true. Because you laughed at it, and remember, because laughter you can't force. It's not real if it's forced. Like literally, it's
yeah.
Your natural response to what was funny is the truth we're after. And how do I package this thing so you'll accept and eat what I'm feeding you? Might be a lie. Like for instance, I had this joke, and it doesn't matter, but the point is I kept on trying this joke where this person was, it was not working when the person was somebody, I'm gonna be careful what I say here, I don't want to be offensive.
It's okay.
But I had this joke.
No, it's okay, be offensive.
But it like only works if the lady's blind, which she wasn't.
Right.
But if I make the lady blind, all of a sudden the whole audience goes, oh, I agree with this.
And that's because they need something to grab onto, and it's really easy for us to go, I can understand the concept of blindness, and if it was some other disability, it almost feels...
Also, the audience is like, sometimes they're too nice. Like I had this story about a Walmart employee that was terrible, and for the longest time, it was the truth, which was this old lady, and the audience just hated the joke. And then all I did was make him a 15-year-old boy, and everybody's like, this is the funniest story in the world.
Because it's easier for us to accept that a teenager is bad at his job than to accept the reality of an elderly woman who should not have to work, but because of the state of our economy, a woman in her 80s.
Thanks, Trudeau.
Who's bad. Whoa.
I don't know if that's true. I don't watch politics.
But it's easier for us to accept that a teenager's bad at his job than it is to accept that an old woman might be bad at her job, because it's depressing that she has to work the job in the first place.
Yeah.
And with blindness, it's like, we can all understand blindness because something can happen to us. You could just get sick one day and now you don't have eyesight. But if the joke, even if in reality it was about someone who was like born with no legs, that somehow feels more offensive to the audience, even though it's truer.
Yeah.
It's a weird balancing act. Like I did a bit one time and my kids were in the audience and none of the bit was true. The only thing that was true was the heart of it. It's about how my wife and I spend money. And nothing else around it was true, but I know that it's going to resonate with the audience because the way people spend money is different. That's a reality for every single person on the planet Earth. And the joke could have been about me and my mother. It could have been about me and you. I could have said like, oh, me and my friends spend money different ways. But my kid was scandalized. Going, is this true? Mommy, did that really happen? She's going, no, honey, it didn't. But the audience is probably not even questioning that. They're just going, it's so true, man. And a lot of comedy is just it being so true that it becomes funny because someone has externalized something that they've internalized. It's subconscious for them, which is why someone can make an observation about something we've all thought about.
It's also, like, this is a thing I realized. I'm a fan of comedy. I have memorized whole stand-up routines and bits.
Yeah.
And before that, obviously, sketch, which was more important to me for many years. But this idea that in reality, you kind of just remember laughing. There's just like this weird like thing in the air, which is comedy and funny and laughter. And you just like, you try and like, this is how you guys are going to receive this thing. You're going to forget the package I sent it to you in, but you remember the laughter that made you happy in this moment.
Comedy is kind of like an invisible element that you can't see, taste, touch, but like, you know it when it's there. You know what I mean? It's like smelling, it's like carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't smell it, you just die in your sleep.
Yes.
Comedy's kind of the same way. You can't see it coming always, and you can't articulate what it is or where it is or how it's happening, but it's just, like the hardest you've ever laughed in your life is probably because it was just 1 a.m. and you're hanging out with somebody and someone just said something in a way that made you laugh uncontrollably, and you can't bottle that, you can't even really explain it, you can't replicate it. And that's what happens in stand-up. The thing works, it doesn't work, it works again, it works better than it ever did, it bombs harder than it ever did, and you just have to go, this is inexplicable. I think one of my instincts that has taken a long time to develop is just doing what I think is funny. Just do it. Just do what you think is funny, because it might not work anyways, even if you do what you think other people are going to like. My second voice job I ever had, also a Nelvana production and Teletoon, was called The Day My Butt Went Psycho. It's not a good show. But I went in to audition for this character, and I was like, I'm not going to get this part. I know I'm not going to get it. The character was a huge, monstrous character. I don't have a big, deep voice. So I tried. I tried to do a big guy. And I didn't think I was able to act through that voice. And they said, you know what, we really like that voice, but for another character, can you go out and look at those lines? I said, okay, so I went back into the waiting room. I looked at the picture. I said, I know what voice it is. It's not that voice. So I didn't even give them the one they wanted. I thought I could go in and do it again, but I know that I'm going to get this part if I do the right voice. And I went in and did this voice that was the complete opposite. I started like this. And what I ended up doing was like this sort of like lots of voice cracks, sort of pseudo-aristocratic, very uptight character. The second job I got, I landed it, doing what I knew was going to be better for that character. And usually it doesn't work. But when you land the part or get the job doing, like following your instincts, it's way better. Oh, yeah. Because otherwise you're locked into doing something that you were like, they'll probably like this, but I'm not going to enjoy myself doing it.
The dream situation is you're in a role that you're good at, that you're made for. I feel like a lot of times there's been jobs that I've got, and like I kind of knew from the beginning, like, oh, like I'm going to get this job.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had that and I don't get them.
Yes.
Because I think I'm great, but also,
I think you're great.
But like the ones I've gotten, I'm always like, there's no competition. I'm going to get this job. And that's a weird part of this career where you're like, you're waiting for that to exist, for that to come to you in a way, which is also, I think, why I got into writing. I started in writing technically and doing sketch comedy. But that idea was like, nobody to sit and wait and hope that somebody's going to make something and I'm their guy for that thing and hope that we align perfectly versus, oh, I can write it myself and I can make it myself and I will be that guy because I wrote and made it myself, you know? And I still want you guys to put me in your movies. That's still my desire.
The only reason I started posting videos was because I wanted to have complete control. I wanted to have say in every step. I wanted to have an idea, do it how I wanted, not get any notes, and then have people see it and make them laugh. And as soon as that started working, it was like the most exciting thing in the world.
It allows you to be what you've always wanted to be, but it still feels like, does it still feel like that's a stepping stone towards the thing that you want? Or is it like, no, like because at the end of the day, is the goal not that we would be able to be creative and give that to other people and to have the control?
I think that's the goal, and that's all that matters, is having a way to express yourself. So an outlet for creativity. And for some people, I think the goal is to be an influencer, to get sponsorships, to, I don't know, just be a content creator. I would never call myself a content creator. I just would say I'm a comedian. I do voice acting in funny shows. I write for funny shows. I've been in movies that were comedies. I've been in series that were comedic. I make videos that are funny. I do stand-up, which is a form of comedy. Like, that's it. I'm a comedian. So doing social media, even just doing this, is just, we're not getting paid.
It's weird how actors are, they have to be so amicable and diplomatic and kind.
And they should. It's a nice job. It's a fun job.
It's an easy job. It's a nice job. They are blessed. But whenever I see an actor get mad, I'm always like, there's a breaking point, and this is probably what you're witnessing.
And the truth is, it's tense. There's a lot of money on the line, and nobody wants to get in trouble.
But also the pressure. You don't know what's going on the other side. Like, to walk into a room and to not understand, like, you don't have a relationship with these people. They could want you to be fired. They want somebody else. They could be. You don't actually know what's happening. I remember one of my first auditions I ever went into. I walked in and I had to play a man who was physically, he was mentally disabled.
Yeah.
And I put my heart into this character, and I went in there and I tried to do my best. And I did.
And for the record, you did work at a hospital at one point, and you were absolutely never going to go into this with the intention of doing something offensive, but they asked you to do it.
And I tried pretty hard. I think he had like autism, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try my best. And I remember leaving this thing. It was one of my first auditions, and they said thank you, and everybody was nice. Probably 10 people in the room. And as I was leaving the room, the door was shutting, and just as it was like an inch to closing, they burst into laughter.
Yeah, but that's on them for asking you to do that.
But was it? But to this day, I'm like, did they laugh? Probably they're laughing at how terrible I did.
Oh, you're saying it might not have been about you.
You don't know. But of course, I think to this day, I can never do that again. But
I would always audition for these voice roles. I've never landed a role like for a radio commercial, and I would always audition for these voice roles for television commercials as like the voiceover. And I'm like, I can do animation, but I don't have like a radio voice. You can hear me speaking right now. And I finally landed a Mitsubishi commercial. And I go in to do I'm like, really? I did one line, and I literally heard them go, really? like they were just, okay.
That's what you're going to do.
No, this is what the client wanted. Okay, well, no, fair enough. And like, he sat in the room with me. Let's try that again, buddy. Like I'd never done it before. If you could leave people with one thought for today, what could it be? It could be anything.
Creatively, I've come to this discovery recently in my life. The writing is on the wall in terms of the progression of where the art is going. So like, think about like, movies used to be like silent, or like vaudeville before theater was all stage, right? And then people are like, oh, now they're filming it, and a bunch of people are like, I'm not doing that. I'm staying where the art is. And to their credit, that's great. Do what you want. But at a certain point, you must understand that it's shifting and it is moving. And I think where it's moving, which is positive, it's self-production.
And human-made things and human connection.
Yeah, screw AI. think that's just the point. We have the ability to just actually make things easily now.
Yeah.
You know? All we need is 2 grown men to give up their entire day for us. And we're out here doing it. Thank you.
This is nice.
This was nice.
Lewis.